Yo, what's up, Grand Rising? How you doing? This is Coach Renz. Welcome to Deconstructing Christianity, where we endeavor to learn more about why we have deconstructed from Christianity and continue to grow in that mindset. Texas God is Paradise Lord Ryu Arukin. Welcome to welcome to my early birds. Today we're going to have a discussion about something that intrigues me to a certain extent, but nevertheless will follow a similar pathway as those who are deconstructing from Christianity or any other religion, and why this comes into play as much as it does. If you're finding me for the first time on this channel, it is not for religious people unless they are asking questions about their religiosity and the historical aspects and moral complications of their book and contradictions within the book of Christianity. Uh, If you love your religion, stay in your religion. Nobody's asking you to leave, nor are we here to try to change you of your religion. But for those of us who are deconstructing, this is an opportunity for us to get together, to find our community, to support one another. My wife gave me this ABC coffee cup today. What's up, Tim? Coach, are you planning to get a couple more wives? No, I'm not planning to get a couple of more wives. If you weren't here yesterday, we had a great discussion on polygamy. One of my friends, Kevin Wesley, who is the polygamist, was on here, and we had a great discussion on polygamy yesterday. Uh, my wife is not. Now, I'm gonna be honest though. If my wife was open to polygamy, I would be. I would be. And I think it'd be easier at our ages than it would be if there's children involved. But it is not something that she's interested in, and I chose to be with her, so that's it, Tim. But well, here's an interesting thing. When me and my wife were just friends, and I used to come and hang out at her on her front porch, I was so irritated with, and excuse me if I offend anybody, American women and just women in general, that I was just like, you know what? I was telling her, I'm gonna have me 2, 3 wives. I'm gonna leave this country within the next 5 years and get me 2, 3 wives. Uh, but that was the plan. That was the plan. But I told her, I literally told her, you're my last monogamous relationship. I did tell her that. If something happened, if she got ran over by a bus, because I don't think that anything would end between her and I out of personalities, it'd be damn right, Tim. It'd be polygamy. Hey, Rising John, Debbie, how you doing? Yeah, and that's why one of the reasons why I want to have Kevin on, John, is because a lot of people there are there are people on my page who never heard of Kevin, don't know Kevin, but he's a really good guy, and it was great to have him on. And we have been recently talking about doing shows together again, so you know, glad you got introduced to him. Yes, I do have a good one. As normal, we got about 1 minute before we actually get started because we're talking about simulation theory tonight. So hopefully you guys, I posted that we was going to be talking about this about 4 hours ago. So hopefully we can have a good conversation about it. If you didn't know about simulation theory, it gave you time to go and do a little bit of research on it. In fact, there's a couple of things. So we got 30 seconds, just enough time for me to get my hand rolled cigar ready. What up, free mind? I'm doing great. Got back in the gym today after a little layoff. I'm doing great. I feel it tomorrow. Where's Virginia? Welcome to the show for the first time. I like to highlight people when they're here on the first time. All right, so tonight we're talking about simulation theory. Just to check, it's only about 25 people on here right now. If you've ever heard of simulation theory, type of one in the comments. If you ever heard of simulation theory, type of one in the comment. That way, give me an idea of where we're starting here. If you ever heard of simulation theory, one in the comment. Or you can give a thumbs up like Tim. See, Tim just disobedient. Can't put a one in the comments. Got to give a thumbs up. I asked for a one. Did I ask for a thumbs up, Tim? Did I? Fred said it's like living in the Matrix. Yeah, the Matrix. We are going to reference the Matrix tonight. Oh, and now he got to get like 6 ones. What's up, Sean? So if you heard of the Matrix, give me a number 1. So social media trick. The more people comment on a video, the more the algorithm picks it up. So this is why social media people ask people these types of questions. Give me a 1 if you think I'm this, or give me a 2 if you think that. Yes or no to this one or that one. If Debbie can't put a 1, she got to say, yes, I have. And see, that's another trick to get somebody to post something again, put something in the comments a second time. See, the difference with me, I'm going to tell you what the trick is. I ain't just let you slide. Just let you just be doing shit. All right, so the simulation theory. Simulation theory, thank you everyone for responding. Thank you everyone for responding. A 1 if you heard of the simulation theory. Simulation theory, is it something brand new? Is it something that's only been recently talked about? Not exactly. You can go all the way back to ancient China. You can look at Plato's cave, and there are so many other authors throughout history who have postulated some level of the simulation theory. If you look at a religion, any religion, the religions are actually broadcasting the simulation theory. Even as a student of the Hermetics, the fact that the Hermetic principle of the mind, of mentality, of mentalism, which within mentalism it states that we all exist in the mind of the all, is still postulating the simulation theory. So there is not a lot of difference between the simulation theory and the theory of God and creation, right? So the simulation theory as we have it today was really popularized in today's world by 2 different things. In academia, the simulation theory was being postulated by Nick Bostrom. Nick Bostrom, I believe he's a Harvard professor, wrote a whole book and papers about this simulation theory. And I've read it a couple of times before. It's been a while, but I glanced over it again today. And in his simulation theory, there's really only a few things that is that it is a philosophy. You can sum it up into a few things. 1, it is a philosophy and not so much a science, although many have tried to make it into a science over recent years, over the recent decade, actually. Number 2, the simulation theory is either we will destroy ourselves before we ever get to the point of being able to replicate a simulation for ourselves. 2 is that we'll be able to do it, but choose not to do it because of its immorality. And number three is that number four, we already are existing in a simulation, just not really knowing it. Now, where did I see that? Somebody said something. Imogen, if I'm saying that wrong, let me know. I've hacked the simulation. The other big reason many people know about the simulation theory is because of the movie The Matrix. It came out in what, like 1998, 97, 98. One of the best movies ever made, in my opinion. Postulates, and I use that word 3, 4 times, so I didn't use it too much. But it presents a a world and an idea and a thought that so many people gravitated towards, and it really pushed the simulation theory. So for those who don't know, although almost everybody who's on here right now have said that they know, they have heard of the simulation theory. Just to give you a brief rundown, the simulation theory is the fact that we do not exist as a true material existence, but our existence is merely a simulation that some superior culture, let me rephrase, some technologically superior culture has created, and we are just existing within that simulation. They, in the simulation, they put all the laws of nature that we understand, all the laws of the universe, and that the Big Bang was simply the turning on of that simulation. And they have put forward within the algorithm everything that happens in our lives, and every invention, every well, just not every invention, but everything of matter, everything of natural forces that we perceive are simply just simulations, right? And because of that, we do we have free will, but yet that free will is still governed by the laws that were created in the programming of that simulation. And in order to get outside, and the goal of some is to get outside the simulation. This is the red pill, blue pill that was presented on in the movie The Matrix. Now, where's somebody? Y'all know I get stopped because I see certain comments. Right, we did get the same message from Star Trek and Star Wars. Star Wars, I don't know. Star Wars, I can't say it for that one. I don't know Star Wars lore as much as well, but Star Trek lore, yes, you get simulation in that one. Now, here's the big thing: is the belief that the simulation of the Matrix is real. One of the reasons why I have not ever given in personally to the idea of the simulation theory or the Matrix in a sense is the fact that in order to have the simulation, there must be a creator, and that creator must have created this simulation. But these people within the simulation would never be able to prove or disprove that the simulation is real. It is very popular amongst people who have walked away from religions, people who, especially atheists, who have said that there is no God, but yet they will accept the simulation. But the problem is, how would proving the simulation or disproving the simulation is about as much as proving or disproving the existence of a God, of some all-powerful God who created everything that we know of in our known universe and the universe that goes beyond. As a matter of fact, in the simulation theory, you don't even, all those stars and galaxies and things that we see far away from us, they're not even real. The program algorithm would only allow for them to become more real as we get closer to them. One person who postulated a simulation theory was saying that if while you are sitting here, while there is a place where no one is in existence, where there is no one to observe that space, the simulation will leave it blank. But as a person comes closer and closer to being able to observe let's say they're in the middle of a forest where there is no one, as someone observes the forest, the program automatically creates the forest. So without observation, there is nothingness. So, and in that way, it saves computer space, which a great simulation would do. But for my guy who said that he's broken into the simulation, I would love to hear an explanation of how you broke into the simulation. And I understand, Tim. For a while, I wasn't either. The Matrix, the thing is, the beauty of the Matrix, and one of the reasons why that movie is one of the best movies ever made, is because it calls people to think beyond the scope of what they have been taught their entire lives. And Gregory, how would you prove the Matrix is real? The burden of proof is similar to the burden of proof of any religion. So in the same way that you would be have you there would come to a point where there's no evidence, there's not enough sufficient evidence, I should say, that will denote that it exists, that is there, that is real, that is the exist, that's the universe we live in. So is afterlife just more of the simulation? What about before life? What about before life? Where were you? Where was your consciousness? Where did you exist? How did you exist? Did you exist? As far as you know, if you were not, you were before your existence right now, as I said in the video that I just published like an hour ago or less, uh, Mark Twain said that he is not afraid of death because for billions and billions of years he existed. For billions of years he was dead and did not know it. It caused him no harm whatsoever. So after this life is over, there will be no more harm. There will be no harm in the same way. I'm not Neo, I'm Mr. Smith. There is one thing that I do that irritates the shit out of some people. I will spoil your childhood through the cartoons that you watch. I will spoil a movie in a heartbeat. And the real one, the one that could remake the Matrix however he wanted, was Smith, not Neo. I am Smith. Think about it. Who remade the Matrix how they wanted the Matrix to be remade? Because was that not the prophecy? Yeah. Right. And that was a great scene. We are spoons, you know what they say about those. But he said you can't bend the spoon, you have to bend yourself. That's right, Tim. Agent Smith, he was the one. He was born in the Matrix. Neo wasn't born in the Matrix. Smith was born in the Matrix. And true, I get that energy can never die. But if your consciousness is merely just an algorithm that has been programmed to exist, then once what do we do with algorithms that are no longer useful, that are no longer they are absorbed back into, let's just say, a big energy matrix to be reused as something else? A lot of people miss that one. Why do you continue, Mr. Anderson? Yeah, because I choose to. Choice. Everything is about choice, and people choose to believe in this. To me, if you realize if there was a way to prove that we are existing in a simulation, right? Would that cause you to be more moral or immoral? Would you leave whatever moral basis you have, or would you seek a higher understanding? Would you seek, what is it? Is it the red pill? I forget which one it is. Is it the red pill that makes you go realize, that awakens you, or is it the blue pill? I'm not asking that one so that people can say stuff for the algorithm to work better. I literally always get them confused as to which one it is. Junie said, we live in a simulation. If we live in a simulation, those controlling our matrix would also be some kind of matrix controlled by some other thing. And this continues on and on. And yes, in my research, one of the people that I saw talking about the simulation theory that I agreed with a lot of their points was Neil deGrasse Tyson. And one of the things he talked about was the infinity of the simulation. The first question would be, are we the first simulation or are we the last? Because if a society was inside of a simulation, at some point, hopefully without before they destroy themselves, we would um, the red pill. Thank you, Teresa. We would get to a point where we say, okay, we are now uh, able to create a simulation where the beings inside have free will, and we've implemented all the laws of nature, and we've created this entire universe for them to dwell in, and they are sentient beings. And then at some point they would do the same, and at some point the same. Because we would program it with the same type of algorithm that we're living in, you would have an infinite number of simulations. Now, because we don't have the ability to create the simulation ourselves right now, then are we the last? We're the most recent simulation, I should say. Or are we the first simulation that hadn't quite made the others? There, that in itself presents a problem of, if we can create the simulation, then we would accept that we are probably part of a simulation. But what would we do about it at that point? How can we change the code? And would we want to change the code? Who would be in charge of changing the code? What are you saying, John? He did everything he was supposed to do. You don't have a choice in the matrix. You have outcomes. You don't have a choice of making the choice. You have the choice of what the outcome is by the choice you make, but you still have to make a choice. Exactly. That was one of the things that the Oracle had presented to Neo. Um, would you have knocked over the glass if she hadn't told him? Or I think that was in the second or third one. Second one, I don't know, one of them. But that is a very true thing. It's just which choice are you going to make to derive to whatever outcome you think that you want to receive. And that is part of the Hermetic teachings, that you make choices of which direction up or down the pole that you're going to go in order to get whatever your desired outcome is. Is that the simulation, or is that truly just our existence? Hmm. No. If there are the idea of infinite simulations is this. Like I said before, the simulators create the first simulation. The simulators create a simulation. At some point, that simulation creates a simulation. Until the next simulation creates a new simulation, that simulation is the last one. There may be an infinite number going before, but there is not an infinite number after, because the one that hasn't yet gotten to the technological ability to do so would be the last one until you create the next simulation. Cast itself, 0, 1, 2, 3. Number of energies, 0, negative, 1, positive. As creation grew, its magnetism coded itself. I don't even understand what you're talking about. That actually is above over my head. There would have to be a different way that would be explained for me to understand exactly what you're talking about. I have no problems admitting when I don't know something or don't understand something. You say you want a girlfriend like Trinity? he didn't even know that Trinity was in love with him, or that he was in love with Trinity. That's been recommended to me, but I still haven't seen Dark City yet. They say it is on par with The Matrix. I'll put that on the list. Okay, so you're saying like binary codes, ones and zeros, and 0 1 0 1 1 0. Okay, I understand binary code, ones and zeros, and depending upon the order of the ones and zeros, it manifests something. So are you saying that it is infinite because there's an infinite amount of ones and zeros, ups and positives and negatives? Dark City. I guess everybody's seen Dark City except me. But how do you prove? I'm ask the question again. How do you prove that we are living in a simulation? Is every time I have deja vu a correction of the simulation, as they try to explain in the Matrix? I know for sure that some of my deja vus come from a dream that I've had. Like I will have a dream and I will remember that dream. And then when the deja vu is happening, I remember that I dreamed about that. So deja vu, is that the simulation correcting itself, or when I was asleep, I penetrated the simulation to be able to move forward in time? Hmm. In Hermeticism, since you are since the all created our universe in its mind through thought, then yes, your brain could create another simulation. And so if you reach a certain level of consciousness, do you create your own universe, kind of like how the Mormons teach? Willow chip prove that this is the first of many simulations. You sure we the first? I remember watching one of the DC animations, and every Earth thinks that they're in their multiverse. Every Earth thinks they're the first Earth. They're number one, the original Earth. How would you be able to prove that you're the first Earth? Sometimes the deja vu are like alternate endings. If you went to another direction, but if you know how to steer yourself in those directions, you can consciously create a life for yourself. That would be great, because some of the dreams that I've had, that life is way better than the life I live right now. Not that I live a bad life, but it's better. I would love to live some of the lives that I dream. Yes, the Truman Show was outstanding. And see, this is what I think. I am in agreement. If we are in a simulation, we are the last. We are, because we haven't been able to create another one. I'm glad you enjoyed last night's live. For those who are new, we go live every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What did somebody say? The Willow chip? I've never heard of that. As a quantum computer chip developed by Google that can perform calculations much faster than a traditional supercomputer. It's a major step towards building a quantum computer that can be used in fields like medicine and energy. The chip can perform the calculations parallel and increases the computing power. It can reduce the errors and scale up to, which is it can perform a calculation that would take supercomputers billions of years. I see what you're saying as far as how a Willow chip may be able to give us computer power. Google says it's still 10 years away from quantum computer to be able to create that. Similar to like how if we ever got crystal computing technology, when we get to a level of crystal computing technology at a massive scale, that a crystal would be able to hold more information than every computer on the planet right now. Deja vu is just a circle saying hello to itself. It would seem so. Deja vu seems like time travel to me. You say our dreams are like looking into another simulation. But wouldn't that look more, wouldn't that be more of the multiverse than it would be the simulation theory? Because the multiverse would be that I exist in every universe and making different decisions in each one. Whereas the simulation would be this universe and there, but there would be a whole nother universe. Like if I was making a simulation, like I said, if I had power to make the simulation, humans, whatever human-like beings I create, would have four arms. Because I think that the human body would be better off with four arms than two. We would be much more efficient with four arms. We can do more things, be better if we had four arms. And people who've been metal, it is relative. Like, what was the guy, the heavyweight lifter? He went turned into a wrestler. John Henry, no, John Henry, Mark Henry. He could bend metal, but he's worked his muscles up to be able to do that, and it's a technique to it as well. My Muay Thai instructor could kick bamboo and break them, but he went through a process of calcifying his shins so that he can break bamboo. Who said too much deodorant? No trauma. You know what I mean? I would have four arms. I could be doing some things here, typing right there. You see what I'm saying? The ability to take the human body and push it to certain limits. That's not proof of assimilation. I want proof of simulation. Like if I was I breaking bamboo, no, but my shins got calcified to the point where I could break your kneecap. Of breaking back. So one of the things that we used to do is we literally he had a bamboo in his backyard, and we would take he would cut it down, and first you start by rubbing the bamboo along your shins for like hours a day, like an hour to a day. Of course, you're kicking heavy bags, and then the heavy bags get harder and harder, and you're kicking those. Where you're basically creating microfractures within your shin, and every time the microfractures happen and your body heals itself, you then that bone calcifies more and more and gets harder and harder and harder. Is when you're older, you ain't gonna do it. Just saying right now, it's something that you pretty much got to do when you start doing when you're young. But it's basically that's the simplest process. You know, we had like these rolling stones, like smooth roll stones that you went up and down your leg to calcify it. You know, we did it on our forearm and our elbows. Um, I wouldn't say the Mandela effect is proof. The Mandela effect is basically everybody remembers something happening a certain way, but it actually didn't happen that way. And sometimes that's just, there could be a mistake in pop culture as to how something happened or when something happened, and everybody thinks that it, like, people were so convinced that Mandela died in prison, people forget he actually got out of prison, became the president, and that sort of thing. Why people think that he died in prison could simply have been how it was being taught in the 80s during apartheid, and people just made the assumption, and then that assumption just went off the rails. What there are tons of Mandela effects, like I know the Bernstein Bears is like, is it the Bernstein Bears, but it's actually like the Bernstein Bears or some shit like that. That's just like a mass hallucination or a mass mistake, put it that way. I remember Luke. Luke, I am your father. I die on that hill. How does it actually go? It doesn't really go, Luke, I am your father. It's similar though. Mandela effect, Luke, I am your father. Darth Vader actually says, no, I am your father. So the no is forgotten, but it is no, Luke, I am your father. But the Mandela effect is kind of like a lie. If you tell a lie over and over and over and over again, that lie becomes the truth that most people believe now, and they will die on a hill for it. I'm looking for proof, y'all. The only proof there is a simulation is that a simulation is a simulation. Thought ideal people want to manifest into reality. It's as much as so I will for me, the closest I'll get to we live in a simulation is that we exist in the mind of the all, as a thought of the all, as energy of the all. But the all is not controlling our lives or things of that nature. But at the same time, there I am open to the fact that there is no all, period. There's no intelligent designer, that we just exist, and after we finish existing, we just done. Either nothing, our conscious energy just dispersed into the ether, or if our consciousness stays together, we manifest and create our own dimensional plane of existence. And dreams will be the closest, and that falls in the same line of a dream. And that's one of the reasons why I do I lean more to our consciousness maintaining itself, and we go and create our own dream world. But that dream world in itself would be a simulation because we are the creators of it. But what created us? Are we just, is that how existence has always been? Mandela effect. Isaiah 6:11. Wolf lays with the lamb. Are you serious? Isaiah chapter 11, verse 6. The wolf will live with the lamb, the leopard will lie down with the calf and the lion and the yearlings together, and the little child will lead them. In the Bible, lions lying down with the lamb. Oh, shit. That is not in the Bible. You are absolutely right. Because Jesus is considered the Lion of Judah. That is why, and the Lamb of God. That's why people think that lions will lie down with lambs. But Isaiah 11:6 actually says, "Wolf." Well, I'm gonna do a little bit more research on that one and probably do a video on that. Let me write that down. Let me write it down. Write that one down. I never realized that. In all of the times I've read this Bible, I've never realized that. So you like the latter of the two ideas? Yeah. We would all love the latter of the two ideas because here's the thing that has preceded man's thoughts forever and ever is what happens after we leave. What happens after this existence? And our best case scenario, the best thing that we want is to still exist after this existence. There's not many people who's like their mindset is nope. I didn't have an existence before. I don't want an existence after. It's a one trick pony. Yeah. But I think that it is an incredibly real possibility, and that it is more of a possibility that when we die, there is nothing, absolutely nothing, because there was absolutely nothing beforehand. Because if this consciousness was in existence beforehand, there's no memory of it, there's no actions of it, there's nothing. So after this existence, it's most likely nothing. And you know what? I'm gonna give you a dollar. I'm gonna give you a dollar trifold that if we entertain the simulation theory, we must also employ delusional thoughts to support it. His $1 is very valuable here because in the same way that you would say we exist in a simulation, that this is all some creation, you might as well believe in Christianity or Islam or whatever other religion, because you have about the same and much proof, and you have to engage in the same types of circumstantial evidence that is really weak circumstantial evidence in order to prove so. And this is the form that energy has chosen for us to be in. The form of energy that we will be later, we will have no consciousness of it. You wouldn't be able to say, I used to be Renz, I used to be John, I used to be Trauma, I used to be Junie, I used to be Sean, I used to be Debbie, I used to be Texas Goddess. You will not be able to know that you used to be any of those things. But because people fear the afterlife so much, we create religions and all these different. So, if for those who believe in assimilation theory, what happens after you die? What happens? And let me go ahead and put the call in on here. If you believe in assimilation theory, I would love for you to explain and express what happens after you leave this existence, and how do you know that is what happens? What can be offered? What can be offered that would differentiate you and your beliefs from Christianity? And then, I mean, are the simulators your God then? Isn't that what they had in the second Matrix? That the ghost and poltergeist are just deleted files that didn't get put in the recycle bin. That's what the Merovingian, and then he had the two twins who were ghosts like vampires looking dudes. This Joker, this Joker right here. I used to be the king of England in the past life till I woke up around a bunch of peasants. This is the hardest thing for people to say. I don't know. You circle back around and start all over. Your brain erases. That's cute. That's like a logical thought process. How do you know that? Is it because you have no memories of anything? So the logical conclusion would be that your brain must have been erased? Or is it Occam's razor that you just never existed in this format ever before? You never had this type of cohesion of energy to form a consciousness ever before. Patrick, please do not write in all caps. Is the Gregorian calendar part of the simulation? I don't necessarily understand what you mean by is that part of the calculation, the simulation? Historically, when we look at man and his ability of science in calculating and watching the stars and all the planets and whatnot, different people, different cultures, different time frame, everybody's watching this same stuff until certain levels of math was created. They couldn't accurately predict what a calendar was, how to create a calendar. The Gregorian calendar is just one of the few calendars that finally got it, finally had enough science to be able to predict where planets and stars and everything should be based on the knowledge of elliptical orbits and things of that nature, rotations of the earth and all and the moon and all that. So it's really a matter of science as to how we got to the Gregorian calendar, not so much a simulation. Before I was here, I was a black sun. Then my consciousness was drawn into the third pyramid on the left and kept in a jar for a long time in the dark. I know that doesn't make sense. I am still trying to figure out the metaphor. How do you know that you were a black sun? How do you know that you was drawn into the third pyramid and you was left in a jar? You were conscious while you was in a jar, conscious of you being a sun? How do you explain the knowledge of that? Was it a dream? I'm not picking on you, Imogen. I'm just saying. It's kind of like the Sagan, what is it called? The Sagan hypothesis or something like that, uh, which basically we say that with basically with extreme statements or predictions or facts, with extreme claims, there must be extreme evidence to prove it, or something like that. It goes something like that. But if you're going to make those types of claims, you have to have extraordinary, not extreme. With extraordinary claims, there must be extraordinary evidence. You would have to prove that you was part of a black, that you were a black sun, and for our scientific knowledge we have today, please don't write in caps, Gregory. A black sun was basically a black hole. where no light could escape, and your gravitational, because you have such a strong gravitational pull, that light and matter does not escape, and so it condenses into a black hole until enough energy is built up, and then it explodes out and builds new nebulae, which creates new stars and all that sort of stuff. You was born during the spinneroonie on Saturn. No doubt, the flying spaghetti monster of Saturn, our noodle and savior, our Parmesan wheel, allow for you to do the spinneroonie. I like how the Prince song says, um, I was born with a dream outside my head. I read it a long time ago. I'm talking about different saviors who had these miraculous births. Yeah, I don't believe in Jesus. So, exactly. The true God saw spaghetti. I mean, since we have never been to Saturn, we have no idea what's on Saturn. I can legitimately say that the flying spaghetti monster on Saturn is God and created all things. Yeah, Prince knew something. I was born with this dream outside my head. That was, I know there's a lot of Prince songs that a lot of people like, but that is one of my favorite Prince songs. Now, there was a group, the group that presented, and so Cosimo Medici was part of a group, and since Cosimo Medici is the one who had his servant collect the information to write the Corpus Hermeticum, he had a saying. They had a saying in this group that he belonged to, which was called the Sons of Mithra, and they said that time is like a river winding in a circle, and at any time frame, you can choose what part of a circle you want to deal with. That just as time is in a circle, we are all circling in a loop. But the only problem with that is that without reincarnation, Cosmo Medici is dead. His circle is he's not looping. Nobody's looping. You're not you're not existing now, and then you'll exist in 2500 CE. You're not going to exist in 3000. You will end it whenever you end it here, and that's it. I am the brightest night. I am the darkest light. What are you? You're Green Lantern Corps? Shine, my Green Lantern's light. If you haven't met me before, Dark Light, uh, I'm a comic book nerd, mostly Marvel, but yeah, so ignore those references. I'm not, I'm just, you just, it just reminded me of that. Okay. Texas guy said, I believe I go back where I came from when I transition. And I understand that. And many people, like the Gnostics, taught that you go back to the Plamora if you can escape this world of Yaldabaoth, the demiurge. But how do we know that? The place that we all came from could just be the ether, disassembled energy that gets spread out into other forms of energy. I'm glad you took the joke as a joke. Thank you. But yes, existence is linear. I don't, the Sons of Mithra, I understand that they were seeking deeper knowledge of things, that they were, for lack of a better term, well, not lack of a better term, they were alchemists. And so they were seeking higher knowledge. But because man doesn't want to die, man doesn't want to not exist, they accepted things like we live circular in a circle, but we don't. It's linear. No matter how hard we try, you are not going back in time. We were born with a beginning, we will die with an end. No evil shall escape my sight. Y'all stupid. Hmm. Good question. If energy can't be created or destroyed, how can it be linear? Because the energy can never go back to a time frame that pre-existed. Time, not just time, how we recognize time, but even in universal time, you cannot go back to the time frame when the universe was less expansive in the grosser forms of matter that we can observe. You cannot go back into that time. You will not be able to go back and see how the earth was formed. Can only, your energy, no matter how it exists, will only go forward in universal time as the universe is expanding. And whenever if it crunches back or if it dies of a heat death, you will only proceed forward into that. You being whatever, you might be parts of hundreds of thousands of forms of matter or thoughts or energy waves and frequencies, but what you're not going to do is go back. So that's why it's linear. And this is all we have, is our best guess. This is why I cannot start a religion, because people will be like, well, what happens when we die? I don't know. Shit. And people will be like, I don't want to be a part of that religion. They ain't gonna tell me, they're not telling me that I get to go to some type of heaven. Bishop Renz is not truly leading us to some glorious life. He just concerned about life on earth. You go around to what? What do you go around to? Like Trump is saying, where is it at? Damn it, that's not it. You don't forget back, you go around. Shit, that's not what I'm looking for. Y'all, people keep typing. Tomorrow, today, or yesterday don't exist. The only thing that exists is right now. Right now, this second. When I first started this live 59 minutes ago, it only exists on the in video, in memory of the video. But as far as its actual existence, it doesn't exist. You can't go back to it. You can't loop around back to it. And see, we just measure time based on Earth rotation and our elliptical orbit around the sun. That is how time is measured for us because of the laws of nature that we are existing in on this planet. If you was on Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, your time would be different, but still linear. It will still go in one pathway. It is not going backwards to the left or the right. It's going one pathway. Life force returns to the sender. Who is the sender? The sender is just the universe. The sender is nature, in my opinion. You cannot prove a creator of assimilation, a creator of any god. Who is the sender? You just said exactly, Morpheus. Yes. All right. All right. What we got? Good old Jose want to come on the stage. Everybody, welcome, Jose. Hello, Jose. How are you?
Hey, what's up, brother? Can you hear me?
Yep.
There's an echo, is there?
No.
Cool, cool. How you doing, man?
Pretty good.
Just I I just started listening like 10 minutes ago, and yeah, I just wanted to jump in the conversation and just put in my 2 cents, and then just see what you think, and yeah, uh, what's it called? So you believe there's a beginning of the universe, right?
There's a beginning of what we know of as the universe. Yes.
Right, right, right.
Form
Of this reality,
of
basically.
this reality.
Uh, okay, because I wanted to ask, there's some people that believe that the universe crunched down or whatever, and then exploded again. But if it's eternal, uh, obviously there had to be something before, right?
Yeah, another universe.
Right, but I mean, what do you believe would cause something of that magnitude to occur, like the creation of another universe?
The buildup of energy from an exponential amount of mass coalescing together until the energy superseded what could be held in that singularity, and then it explodes out again. It explodes and it releases that energy.
So it just couldn't contain it anymore.
Now it's kind of like a gas tank. You can only fill a gas tank up so much before the gas starts spewing out, right?
Okay, yeah, that's a good analogy.
So just like how we observe the singularities now. We'll see a star that has died. It pulls in so much light and mass and energy until it gets to a point where it can't hold anymore and it explodes out. We've seen singularities happen like that already with
Right, like
other black holes.
quasars and stuff.
So it seems more like the more viable process of how our known universe, came into existence.
But by that logic, then wouldn't then every black hole that in a singularity cause a new universe then?
Well, it could cause a new universe within our already known universe, yes. But what we're talking about is we will have to have the ability to observe one, like if you want to see it happen over the course of time, you would have to be able to observe a universe or a black hole over trillions of years, which we do not have that capability because our recorded history doesn't go back that far.
Right, right. Uh,
So since we've seen
yeah.
black holes explode, then it could be hypothesized that that is how even our known universe happened. And since we cannot observe the entire universe, we have an observable universe that we may be existing within older singularities that have already happened. And our universe is just one of billions of explosions. But
Right.
all of this being eternal.
What was that last part?
I said, but all of it would be eternal because we would never be able to know when it started or how it started. And because what we do know of the laws of thermodynamics, this energy that is present within our known universe has always existed. It can't be created, can't be destroyed. It's always been here. Now, it doesn't mean that it has consciousness. It just is.
Um, but so if every universe can basically breed a new one, but wouldn't that mean that there has to be like an actual beginning to everything? So like instead of compounding every universe
There,
continually,
there is.
uh,
Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say instead of like them compounding it like on basically one after another like constant explosions,
Mm-hmm.
um, wouldn't it there would have to be like an originator, no? I'm not saying like a deity or anything, but like an original explosion that started it all, the chain reaction.
We will never know. But no, there because energy is not created or destroyed. The answer is no. It's infinite.
But couldn't but in uh theoretically when that energy was coalescing or whatever, even though it cannot be created or destroyed, uh but didn't like everything else start because of that energy? So all matter, time, and space came into existence when that energy decided to transfigurate, I guess.
Let me say that again.
So if the since energy can't be created or destroyed, um, but theoretically it said that that all of everything started when that energy transfigurated or whatever. So time, space, and matter came into existence from that from that moment.
No, time, space,
Um,
and matter was already in existence. It's just our understanding of time, space, and matter wasn't in existence. You understand what I'm saying?
uh, kind of. I always thought that time and space started after the Big Bang, right? So when the expansion of the universe started, that's when space came into existence, and
Our
that's when time also came into existence.
our known understanding of time, space, and matter began to exist, but universal time, space, and matter was already in existence while
Oh, I get it.
coalescence of energy was being done. While whatever preceded before our known universe was dying of either heat death or the crunch. Let's just stick with the big crunch. Then there was already time, space, and matter existing. It exploded, it contracted, it exploded, it contracted. It's always been in existence. Our understanding of it is happening in our now because this is when we are experiencing it. But it was previously experienced over and over and over and over again. And even if no one was here to experience it, it still is happening. Like,
Right, but you know that that experiment where uh um I forgot what it was, electrons or whatever, something like that, where basically the gist of the experiment it was that certain things only happen when it's being observed. So it's
yeah,
like that saying, if a tree falls in the forest, does it not if nobody's there, does it not make a sound or whatever? It was part of like the double slit experiment. So
mm-hmm,
if things aren't being observed, it acts in a different way than if it was being observed. So if
yeah,
like as we know it, we know that energy was always there and stuff. But if it wasn't being acted upon, like by our conscious observing of it, um, I guess basically they're saying, what did it ever? Was it actually really there until something conscious started to
No,
observe it, I guess.
the way you just explained, I know what experiment you're talking about. I don't know what it's called either, but just in the way that you explained it doesn't explain non-existence. It was existing and acting a certain. It was acting a certain way without observation, right?
Right.
But it's still happening. Once it was observed, it just acted differently. It was still happening. So whether observed or not, it's still existing and still happening.
But wouldn't that?
It
But
just
wouldn't that?
doing. It just responding differently. That doesn't negate its existence.
Right. But wouldn't that basically s- uh wouldn't that basically say that we that not that nothing happens, but uh something happens only when we observe it, though. If you get what I'm saying.
It just means that something different happens when we observe it. But something is happening whether observed or not. You see what I'm saying?
Right. I
Like
guess
there,
the yeah, right, right. I guess the thing is, like, it's hard for me to grasp the idea of I do understand what you're saying, like, but on the opposite end of it, I guess what you're saying makes sense, because I can't really grasp the idea of there being nothing, you know.
because there is no such thing as nothing.
Right, right, that's my point, like,
But there is no such thing as nothingness. Everything is full. There is no void. There is no emptiness. There is always
so
matter, light, energy is everywhere at all times.
so then do you think that since the universe is always expanding, there's already something out there, like, let's say that boundary that's right outside of wherever the universe is heading, like right out there, if we could see it, is there something already there? Because
Yeah.
I just don't get that idea of the
So,
expanding universe, and if it's constantly expanding, it's expanding into something else. But if that doesn't exist yet, then
so think about it like this.
how can
Think about it like this then. Just because we're expanding doesn't just because what our known universe is expanding from whatever explosion singularity we exploded from is merely expanding into other expansions that are already in existence as well. Right now, the last time my wife and I went to a planetarium a couple years ago, and at the planetarium, they showed us an observation of seeing two galaxies that are merging one with another. And yes, Maria, you can come on. I was trying to type yes in the comments, but it wouldn't come up. But uh, we see galaxies interceding with other galaxies because of we see other galaxies interceding with other galaxies simply because of their motion. They're moving and intertwining. Actually, they were saying that our galaxy itself is intertwining with another galaxy. I forgot what galaxy they said it's intertwining with. Now, if you were a culture that could only see outward of your galaxy, you wouldn't see our galaxy, but you would know that your galaxy is expanding and moving. And you may think that it's moving into nothingness, but it actually is moving into our galaxy. But as you become more scientifically, as your science grows, you then be able to see that, oh shit, we're expanding into another galaxy. So we're not expanding into nothingness, we're expanding into some other matter that is already present. So as our known universe is expanding outward, is merely expanding outward into other portions of the universe that is already existent, and theirs may be expanding inward towards us.
huh.
Because again, there is no such that is why it is termed our observable universe, because there is more beyond what we can observe, and we observe our observable universe is expanding outward, and all it does is expanding into the more that we can't see yet. But as we get more and more advanced, we will be able to see those, which is why we can observe galaxies combining into other galaxies or interceding into other galaxies. And when we look at that, as it was explained when we was at the planetarium, these galaxies that are coming in, if everything just exploded from one singularity, then everything would go outward. It'll be like tree branches, not interceding with anything else. But because there's other singularities that expand are expanding as well in every direction, and ours expanding in every direction, there will become intersections of combinations of these galaxies on a continuous basis, of these universes, these observable universes, on a constant basis. Almost like if you took if I had a handful of rocks, you got a handful of rocks, trauma got a handful of rocks, dark light got a handful of rocks, we all got a handful of rocks, and we all throw them into a pond. The ripples from all those rocks are going to go out 360 degrees, and at some point they'll start to intercede with each other. And as they do, it's not that they're coming into nothingness, they're just interceding. So there was always there, it's just now interceding, and we can now observe it as the ripples hit each other.
Right, like throwing rocks into a pond.
Yes. And if every
So
was a singularity, they would all intercede at some. The ripples would intercede at some point.
right. So then do you think okay, so when people travel, when you travel through space, obviously so like you pass planets or whatever, then you exit the solar system, and then once you exit the solar system, you were flying through the galaxy or whatever, but once you leave that galaxy, you're going through interstellar space, right? So instead of every point of light being a star, it's everything is a galaxy, right? So uh flying outside of that, um do you think there's something else outside of the universe? Like obviously the universe, how you're saying there's constantly new ones being made or whatever, and eventually they'll either collide or coalesce together or whatever. Uh so then do you think there's other universes like simultaneously, like a multiverse? And then on top of that, uh, wouldn't there also be other dimensions? So there's stuff out there that maybe sits literally in the same space we sit in, but it's at a higher or lower dimension, so we don't have access to it the way we can access our dimensions or whatever, or our how we see dimensions basically in
Right.
three.
So I think this was covered in Star Trek, but so what? As you travel outside, if we were able to travel outside this galaxy, that if that's possible, get outside this galaxy. Yes, you should see other galaxies, and you would be in dark space. But still, other galaxies will become your reference points instead of stars and nebulas and things of that nature. Once you get, though, if you were able to get to the edge of the explosion of this known universe, this singularity, you would get to a threshold. That threshold would be so violent in its destructive nature, because think about when an explosion happens. The further out the explosion is, the more violent and new it is. It's basically what scientists say that when they say they're looking back in time to see the universe, it's them looking at the edges of that universe, the beginning of the explosion. So that
So you
beginning of the explosion is very violent. So you have
so
to
you
have
think it's
hella
like
shielding to get through it.
so you think it's like a shock wave of a bomb.
Yes.
Okay.
And so you would be riding into that and have to make it through that to see the other side of that. And in order to get into another observable universe from the
Huh.
singularity, you'd have to get through their force, their initial explosive force, to get into the calmer, more peaceful parts of that known universe that has been coalescing for trillions of years.
Okay, so Okay. So it's like if we're in our universe traveling out towards another, it'd be like we're riding behind the wave of a tsunami. But
Yeah,
if we're in front of it, basically the tsunami is gonna crush us, and at the same time we're heading towards the wave of another tsunami heading towards us. So the
yeah,
only safe space would be to be right behind that wave, like a boat in the water.
exactly.
Huh? I never thought about it like that. That makes a lot more sense than the way scientists explain it.
I'm a simple guy. I'm a
But the
simple
whole
guy with a simple mind.
so so then you believe in alien life, right?
Mathematically, there has to be more life out there. Yes, I can't
'Cause-
prove it,
right, right.
but
It just,
math would suggest that there is.
uh, to me, honestly, the just the logistics of traveling through space is so insane. Um, like I guess that's why, like they say, they need like faster than light crafts. But even at the speed of light, it still is crazy far to travel anywhere. Uh, I just think maybe the if there was aliens, maybe they're not coming from other planets or like other solar systems or star systems. I think they're probably like maybe interdimensional or something.
That's a possibility. Other than that, it would have to be that they technology has gotten to a point where they can fold space and travel pretty much like through wormholes or folding space so that they travel from point A to point B uh, by creating gaps in space.
Right, like riding a wave, but instead of the wave moving over the ocean, you're moving the ocean underneath you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, that'll work.
Um,
What the hell?
'Cause I seen this one video.
Hold on for a second.
All right, yeah, cool, no worries.
I need people to type something because I'm not seeing any comments come up. Are you seeing comments? Because they look frozen to me. The last comment
Yeah,
I see is from Maria.
I got one from Trauma Aladdin.
What are
That's the
these
last
names?
one. Dean Dark Light. Trauma Aladdin said, "We have millions of sperm. Look at how many babies women can hold." What the fuck?
Yeah, I haven't seen any comments since Maria made a comment. My comments are messing up.
Okay, I see your comment right now.
That little gibberish that I told.
Yeah.
Why am I not seeing it? Okay, whatever just happened now is working. So my apologies to the chat. I have not been able to see none of you guys' comments until right now. So Maria, I did say yes, you can come on. I don't know if you ever saw that, but you can come on now if you want to. You don't have to wait. All right, continue.
Um. Uh. Yeah. Something about interdimensional aliens.
No,
Oh,
just
I.
mathematically, aliens would have to other life on other planets. We've already observed that even in the way that we see life, that there are other planets that should be in the habitable zone of other stars that we can observe. So theoretically, there should be other life just like our own out in the universe. And then there's
Right.
the prospect of life that exists outside of how we exist that could still be sentient life.
Right. That's what I was gonna say. So how scientists say they look for specific signs of life or whatever, like H2O and like other types of whatever they're called. But just because we look for those like biological signatures, I guess they're like kind of close minded about it because the way I think about it is, who's to say that they evolved the same way we did? I mean, we could look at like rocks on Mars, and they could be sentient, and we'd never know because that's just how they evolved.
I
You get what I'm saying?
get what you're saying. Like rocks on Mars is not a good example, but yes, um, however that life lives, if we're not looking for it beyond our understanding of life, but we don't have the technology to be able to detect it. But if rocks on Mars were sentient, we would recognize that they were sentient. You understand what I'm saying? Like
But
they,
what?
if they were sentient, then they would move, they would build, they would have civilizations that they would
Well,
create.
that's not necessarily the case because there, like for example, there's animals here on Earth that if we didn't know any better, they'd look like rocks and stuff like that, like those things that look like coral, um, and they don't move or anything. They feed off of
I'm
what
with
is
you,
it? What
but
is it called?
even that life has certain things that identify it as sentience, like reproduction. If something has life, it's going to have some form of reproducing itself. So, in the same way, now the way you're talking about sentient would be like the fact that stars die, but stars create nebulas, and the nebulas create other stars, and that's still replicating itself, but it doesn't have a sentientness to it that we can communicate with it, or that is self-determining, that it has choice. Not that type of life. I'm talking about. Yes, I understand how that is life, but sentient life, making decisions life, have choice life, that type of life could exist, but live on a planet where instead of this mixture of nitrogen and oxygen that we breathe, that they are breathing in, I don't know, hydrogen mixed with nitrogen or something, or hydrogen and carbon monoxide is how they breathe. So they wouldn't be able to live on our planet, but they can live on a planet that does that in whatever level the habitable zone would be. But our scientists are only looking in our habitable zone that is similar to us. Ain't
Right, and
no,
because I was gonna say also, um, because if there's other like universes or whatever, um, I mean, or dimensions for that matter, I guess couldn't it be said that that maybe even the laws of nature are different in other universes or other dimensions?
it very well could be.
So,
It might just if there's a now in our known universe, no laws of nature
right,
are the same. How we respond to those laws of nature may be different. If there is a different dimensional plane, the laws of nature could very well be different in those dimensional planes, which is why they're not the same as our dimensional planes.
right, but the thing is also, if the laws of nature are constant and universal, um, and then like for example, we how we see like UAPs or whatever UFOs or just crabs that like defy the laws of physics, then is it just that the way I think about it is they're maybe they're keeping within the laws of physics. It's just a law that we haven't learned yet, or we haven't been we don't have access or are exposed to. Um,
Yeah, if
and and
there are certain laws of physics that we have not been able to tap into, if they are technologically advanced to that degree, they may be tapping into physical laws that we don't know. Also, back to the simulation theory, if they if this is a simulation, then they are just utilizing the laws that they have been programmed into their version of the simulation.
right, okay.
But I'm more inclined to think that if these UFOs and UAPs were of a different dimensional plane or just a more advanced technology, then they just either have different laws of physics that they've been able to make them work in our dimension. But if they are of the same dimension, then they just have knowledge of um, physics that we don't know yet.
Right, because I mean, on some of these crabs or whatever, uh, I'm not saying this is true or it's confirmed or whatever. It's all theoretical, right? But some of these crabs, people think that it's that is being controlled not through like physical technology, but through like a type of conscious technology, where not saying the craft is alive or something, but it's
I get
It's like how Jean Grey or Professor X can control the
right.
X plane or whatever.
No, I understand what you're saying, but those are all just theories based on what we can fantasize. We actually have no idea.
Right, of course. I just think that it's just I guess it's just hard for me to think about like we come from pure energy, and then that energy, what how you were saying, like turn to stars, stars turn to whatever, and eventually it forms into matter, and then like non-conscious existent matter turns into conscious living matter.
Well,
You get
yeah,
what I'm saying?
let's take the non-existent part out.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's always in existence.
I guess not non-existent. I guess unconscious is a better word for it. I guess.
Yeah, well, consciousness to our understanding, our level of consciousness, how we define consciousness. A rock has consciousness. It's just an rock has a consciousness that's more at a anatomic level, well, an atomic level, not anatomic, but at an atomic level that is more instinctive. It's not just at a level that we communicate with it. Just like dogs are at a different conscious level than we are at, plants are at a different conscious level than we are at, and we consider those to be lower levels of consciousness. But all the way down to the protons and electrons, there is a conscious level to each one of them because they respond and they react to their environment as a conscious thing would. We are just in a conscious level where we have the ability of reason. And with that ability of reason, we can act differently than our instinctive nature of how we should respond or would respond to different environments or situations or observations in the case of the earlier experiment. And
Right, right.
there may be, and they shouldn't. Therefore, there should be conscious levels that are higher than our conscious level, all just existing on different vibrational planes of consciousness.
Right. I guess the reason I brought that up is just because I just think there's like whether there's a god or whether there's like an intelligent creator or whatever. I just think consciousness has a way bigger part that plays into everything, just because of things like that experiment where you get three plants or whatever, and one you just water it and whatever normally, the other one you water it. You all water them the same, right? Same dirt, same cup, same everything, same exposure to sunlight. But one you like say offensive words to, one you don't say anything, and the other one you talk nice to. And the same thing with water when you freeze it. If you expose it to uh like
Yeah, you're
for
talking
like
about the Matsumoto experiments.
is that the one where like you put like hard like metal music to
Yeah,
us like yeah that
right. It's just responding just at different levels because it's receiving different frequencies. Whether it's the frequency of voice, the frequency of emotions that's going out, is responding to the different frequencies based on its level of consciousness.
huh.
Hmm. But let me let Maria jump in here.
Yeah. No worries, brother. No worries.
All right. Appreciate you, Jose.
All right, man. I'll
I
be
would
in
like
the
to
comments, man.
say
Thank you,
something
bro.
interesting.
Go ahead, Maria.
I would like to say, speaking about the idea of assimilation,
Uh-huh.
that the universe is assimilation. Actually, in my religion and in a lot of dharmic religions, that's not actually too far off. You
Mm-hmm.
know, there's this idea that we are in, at least because there's usually the idea of multiple worlds, but like very specifically the idea of the state of the world we live in, and the worlds that are in that system is the state of samsara or ignorance, and that once we attain moksha or enlightenment, we're able to escape the worlds of samsara to the divine world, and become essentially a divine being serving, whichever person we consider to be the ultimate reality. And that God, we were talking about the ultimate reality, is stated to be the ultimate reality, whether it's Shakti, Adi Shakti, Vishnu, Shiva. So that's actually not too far off from things that, certainly, not just dharmic believers, but certainly many, many religions actually teach.
Right. So you weren't here when I first started.
No, I kind of came in late. I'm a late person.
No, it's all right. No, I completely agree with you. One of the things that I said early on was that pretty much every religion has some aspect of the simulation theory when you look at the fact that it basically we are all created in almost every religion in some format. It's the mind of that creator, and that creator has manifested this entire universe. But as we learn and grow based on the religion of that religion, we then go into another existence of the simulation of that creator.
Right.
So every religion, almost pretty much every religion has something. If there's an afterlife, every religion has the simulation theory as part of it. And most philosophies also have a version of the simulation theory.
I would argue that there's some people who, because I know you kind of refuted this concept, the idea that time or space, there was ever a time where time or space didn't exist. And that's something that I flatly reject. I don't think there's ever a time where time or space didn't really exist. And I would even argue from my own perspective. I thought you said that.
No, I said time and space has always existed. It's just what doesn't always exist is our observation of time and space.
Oh, well, that's what I meant. The idea that,
huh?
That's what I meant. The idea that time and space didn't exist. There was a time when time and space didn't exist.
No, time and space have always existed. Our understanding of time and space, how we observe it, hasn't always existed until we start observing it, and then it starts to exist. But even that's only existing to us. But it still was existing even before us.
That's kind of what I meant. But there's some people who think that there was a time, or a time where time and space didn't exist, but then it came into being, which is something that I don't believe in. I think that time and space has always existed, and I would even argue that if you look up in many creator deities, some of the most ancient creator deities and even destroyer deities has usually linked are associated with time and space. Like even in my sect of, now this is not the sect I'm a part of in Shaktiism. I'm a Sri Kula, which worships Lalita Tripura Sundari as a supreme deity. But there's also Kali Kula Shaktiism, which worships Kali Ma as a supreme deity. And her name, Kali, means time. So if you see her as a supreme being or Brahman, then you have to say that time and space has always existed, because that's essentially why she is. That's even one of the reasons why, if you look at her images, she's depicted with being black skin, because that black skin is associated with time and space. It's eternal.
Right. No, and I understand that. Yeah, I agree. Time and space has always been eternal, just as the universe has always been eternal.
Right, I agree.
Yeah, see, you thought that I said something I ain't say. See, look at that.
No, I think it was. I think I miss.
I'm just messing with you. No, but I think we can all be in agreement. And at the end of the day, this is why I just we don't know, because it would be like Spider-Man trying to be outside of the comic book. Right? He can't. He will never know Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, but he can only know what Jack Kirby and Stan Lee has provided for him.
Right.
Beyond that, he's trapped within the confines of the writer. So we have religions that we've trapped ourselves inside the confines of the religion, and it may serve us. Some it serves, some it don't. But as far as the reality of everything, we don't know.
Yes.
We don't, and it could, You know how the Bible speaks of the council of gods, the
Oh yes,
Elohim.
from their polytheistic roots.
From all we know, it could be Kali and Yahweh and Oshun and Odin and all them jokers together who
Mhm.
created this universe, our known
Oh
universe.
yes. Well, I mean, I've said this before, but many indigenous pagan religions worldwide have considered like that deity we call Yahweh to be a malevolent figure.
Yes.
Like if we look at the Greco-Roman religion, he's called Typhon, the father of all monsters who tried to usurp the gods. And then if we look in Egyptian religion, his name there is Set, and we already know this type of stuff Set did.
Yep.
Um, and in my own religious perspective, we call him the Asura King Kali, not used with Kali, like the Kali that is the name of the Asura King. Even though it sounds the same, it actually has a different root and meaning, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And he's one of the most powerful of the Asuras who rules this final age, the Kali Yuga. He was also incarnate during the time of the Mahabharat, and he was defeated by Krishna and the Pandava brothers under the name Duryodhana. So yes, I absolutely do believe in, even though I believe all the gods are essentially either manifestations or subordinate deities to Adi Shakti, the mother goddess, I do believe in beings like Yahweh, which are essentially demonic or asuric deities.
Okay. Yeah. Yahweh does seem demonic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I ain't gonna say seem. According to the Jewish and writings and Christian writings, is incredibly an evil deity.
That's why I've also said that I think that a lot of people who are attracted to those religions and who really stay in them, knowing the evil of the religion, I think a lot of them are incarnate devils too.
Oh damn.
Because I
I
think devils can
can't
be
go that
incarnate.
far. I can't go that far. I just think they're delusional
Well, a lot of them are
and,
narcissists
and
too.
indoctrinated. Because I mean, some of them, yes, some of them I will agree um, that they are that. But because you can find a person who believes in Christianity, for example, and they are the most loving, caring, considerate persons that you will ever meet in your life. They have just been indoctrinated into a religion and they are delusional and they just ignore
Oh,
the evil parts,
also.
but they just ignore the evil parts of it because they believe so much in the indoctrination of the good. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, that's a different issue. Yeah, that's kind of a different issue because I've known some Christians who like reject the evil teachings of the religion and like latch on the good. I'm talking about the people who know and latch on to the more malevolent aspects of it and are essentially spiritual fascists. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah, now them, yeah, I would agree with you. Those, yes, yeah, I agree with you. Those types, I just don't usually, I don't speak in finites most of the time and lump everybody into the same thing. There's always going to be outliers
That's
in
true.
everything, you know,
That's true.
because you can find some Buddhists who are downright hateful,
Mm-hmm.
and they should be some of the most peaceful, loving people on the planet.
I mean, unfortunately, a lot of my people in my religion can be horrible representations of my religion and don't adhere to dharmic principles and, just act a fool. And this is something that even fellow Hindus that I've known have said that we have a lot of people who are part of our religion that represent us very, very poorly, you know.
I think one of the reasons why you have that is because people are more, they get caught up into their culture more so than
Mm-hmm.
their religion. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if if a person truly believed in the love and the peace that their religion does talk about and kept their cultural teachings out of it, they would probably be more loving. I mean, imagine Christians who are all walking around talking about some love thy neighbor, right? Turn the other
Well,
cheek.
the
But if they
problem
actually live that, you can't be racist.
Well, the problem with that is that some religions do teach love and peace and some don't. Like even with that love thy neighbor, there's some caveats with that. I mean,
Yeah.
they certainly don't believe, if we talk about racism, the Abrahamic religions are absolutely racist. They believe in the concept of inherited guilt, that that people inherit the guilt of their ancestors, and some races of people can be just completely
Hmm.
tainted, be exterminated. Look at the Amalekite and the Midianite genocides of the Bible. This God absolutely believes in racism. Jesus called a Canaanite woman a dog.
Yep. And
So
this
you
is, but go ahead. Sorry.
so you get so that a lot of those things have a caveat to them, you know and also the idea that you can maybe love somebody, but because Abrahamics have like a narcissistic conception of like you can love somebody but not think that they're equal to you. And also like the Bible even states that like if you convert and you're supposed to try to convert your family, but if they don't convert, you're supposed to leave them behind and not even associate with people outside of the religion who don't even want to convert and things like that. They also don't like, women, LGBT people, people, who leave the religion. I mean, when Jesus comes back, he's abomination, shadow of craft, people into a bloody wine press, throwing them into a lake of fire. He don't even love his enemies. So if he don't even, I mean, love his enemies, I mean, or if he loves them in that way, why should I? Why should I do that when he don't even practice what he preaches?
And that is one reason that so many of us deconstruct from Christianity, because for as much as they talk about love, there is so much contradiction to that love.
Well, it's
And
narcissistic love. It's like the love of a narcissist, which you really don't want.
yeah, and that contradiction is why you can't call it a religion of love. The same with Islam and many others. Uh,
Hmm.
that's one of the reasons why I was very attracted to Taoism, because there is none of that in Taoism. There isn't a concept of chosen people, and the concept of chosen people leads to a lot of this inequality amongst people. There is the patriarchy is not there, so it doesn't lead to the diminishing of people based on gender. So there's, when you present a philosophy or religion that doesn't have those things in it, you eliminate those contradictions, and it actually can focus on how to treat people and how to treat yourself.
That's also similar to how I got into Hinduism, which again is based off of spiritual merit. And also, I agreed with a lot of the metaphysical and the philosophical teachings that were brought about in Hinduism. And I know there are different Hindu sects which have different teachings, but specifically the Shakta worldview. And I've always had I, I was raised Christian, but I've said this before. I've never really had a kind of an affectionate or a loving view of this particular Yahweh or his son Jesus. I mean, I guess I thought they were good, and until even when I didn't think they were good, you had to say they were, or else you're gonna be burned in hell and have all kinds of stuff happen to them, you know, happen
Right.
to you. But I never felt this affectionate relationship because I always felt the images of this God, especially like these, bearded men that looked almost like I've said before, they look kind of like scary wizards to me. And that was never really, and I never really connected with male deities in that regard. I always wanted to, essentially, I was always more attracted to the belief in God as a mother, not as a father. And that doesn't mean that I think that fathers are less than or I have hold misandrous views. This is just for me. It's not the same for other people, and that's fine. Hinduism has multiple paths and multiple deities you can come to. But that was just for me. I always wanted to see God as a loving heavenly mother, and that was what attracted Shakti, which is the worship of God as the divine mother.
Yeah, and I truly believe that most people need to study every religion, or and find what path works for them. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and for many of us, it would be to not engage in any religion whatsoever and
True.
find more of a philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
that is more guiding and fits more for us. Because I would have a problem worshiping any deity. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
any deity that requires my worship or rituals or anything of that nature cannot be the primary deity simply because it has a requirement or a need which makes it less than,
But that's
right?
just so she doesn't worship. She doesn't demand it. She's not going to kill you for worship. She's not going to throw you into hell. She's more so going to reward you for your good deeds. The worship is more just for our benefit to come to her, not to hers. There's even like a saying that I read this poem that this one Shakta wrote about Kali Ma, specifically saying that she belongs to everybody, but we belong to her. You know, and that's kind of the thing. Like, it's the worship of her, it's not to her benefit. She doesn't demand it. She doesn't need it. Again, she's not like Yahweh who's into hell. It's just to our benefit.
Right. I, I don't know much about that deity, so I can't really speak on it of how that works.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
honestly, I studied Hinduism for like 3, 4 months, 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
not like
I
one of the
understand.
primaries of my wheelhouse. Uh, because at the same time frame, I started reading the Tao, and I leaned
Mm-hmm.
more towards the Tao than well Buddhism. No, it was Buddhism at that time frame. I leaned more towards Buddhism at that time frame, and then from Buddhism, I started reading the Tao, and I leaned towards the Tao because it was absent of this intelligent designer that has a personality. Because
Mm.
for me, the intelligent designer can't have a personality because now it's confined into the box of that personality. You know?
Well, I would say from my perspective, if we're talking about an intelligent designer, I don't think it's necessarily incompatible with having a personality, but I would argue that the personality of this deity is far more expansive and than we are, and also
You're blinking out.
she has differences in the way
You
she acts and
completely,
expresses herself.
you completely blinked out. It's
Oh, did I cut out?
yep.
I'm sorry. Well, what I was gonna say, I'm sorry. We having bad weather over here, so I'm sorry. We've having bad, which cause internet issues. But what I was saying is, I don't think it's incompatible for an intelligent designer to have a personality. It's rather that her personality is far greater and more expansive than ours, and can even make manifest in different forms and things. That's saying, it's almost like if I were to say, a lot of religions say we have a divine spark in us.
Right.
Well, if we have a divine spark, if we have a little candle or a torch, she's an inferno,
Mm-hmm. I understand that
encompassing
concept.
many different forms and personalities.
True. Okay, I can understand that. But then how do? But then we write the deity with a certain level of that inferno, diminishing it to a level that we understand. And oftentimes, that level that we diminish it to, we then create doctrines based on that, which cannot be the fullness of the inferno.
True.
So, in place of that, my thought is just to not go give in to the thoughts of man and how man has boxed in whatever that deity is.
Right. And when man does that and tries to box it in, that's a problem. And that's one thing that I think in many Hindu philosophers, we try not to do so, even though obviously God has some limitations, but we don't try to box into necessarily this or that. But one thing that is said in Hinduism, that God has two main ways that God appears, as God as Sanguna Brahman, which is God with form. This is how God appears to us, because we can only really understand and comprehend have a form. We can only relate things.
You're blinking. You're going in and out again. But I think you're saying that we can only relate to the level to which we can understand.
Right. Yes, that's why. That's why. Let's say God will appear in various forms, or Sali, um, in that way.
Right. So the reason why I argue against that is okay. So a lower level.
Can I
This
say
can
one
be
more thing before I?
sure.
I was going to say one more thing. I was going to finish that. But then God, there's also God as Ninguna Brahman, or without form. So
Right.
God can appear in both ways to relate to us with form and as the divine force that animates all reality.
I'm with you.
Now you continue. I just want to finish what my thought.
But thank you for your permission. No, I just
Sorry.
I just play. I just play. I just play. You know you can't take me serious all the time. So I liken it to kind of education or government service.
Mm-hmm.
In education, we know that we have students that are able to learn things in history or math or science greater than other students, but yet we hold everybody to the same standard.
Right.
Our governments don't tell us certain secrets of things that's going on because they don't think the people can handle it. So they only tell us what they think we can handle. But all the while, when I combine those two thought processes, I look at it as you don't know what I can handle until you tell me or show me.
Mm-hmm.
And so, why is there a holding back on the information? Let me be able to see if I can handle the information. So, when it comes to God, God needs to show itself in its fullness and not say, oh, my fullness will kill you and all that bullshit like the Bible says. Show me in your fullness because because I can handle more than what you are saying instead of giving me some doctrine by some other men who are trying to tell me what I can handle.
Well, I mean, it's almost like I would say, like if we see God the way I was describing it as an inferno, what happens if we go into an inferno at its full power? We gonna
If
get burned and incinerated.
then let me get burned and incinerated. But who is even God to tell me what I can and cannot handle?
Mm.
If this God made me, and I know the opposition to that would be, well, if the God made you, then the God knows what you can handle, right? But if I'm sitting up here questioning it, then show me enough of yourself so that I don't question it.
Right. Well, and
But you
also I
don't
would.
even do that.
Right. And one thing that I would say in our religion is we will eventually be able to handle the fullness of her divine power, the fire, because we will, it's thought in Hinduism because we don't have this concept of some people are going to be damned, some people are going to be saved. In the fullness of time, all beings, including demons, will be saved and get their divine status and attain moksha, which is divinity, and then will be happy and warm in the fire.
And even the process of that pisses me off, though.
Really?
Why do I wait? Why do I have to wait until life is lived here in order for me to see the fullness of God? Because, like in Christianity, it is once you go to heaven, you will be sitting at the throne of God and see God in his full glory, and you'll be able to handle it. And you'll praise him all day and night, well, all day, and you'll be there with God in his full glory.
In our religion, you actually get to have more fun in heaven. You don't just sit around praising Adi Shakti all day. You actually, because if she can have fun and do fun things with other deities and with us, so can we. We're not just sitting around like, because he wants, like, he's a narcissist. He demands worship. She doesn't demand we sit around and essentially kiss her butt all day.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to be with a God that says that. That's one reason. Another reason why Christianity is such a horrible religion to me, because
Yeah, the
well, I
heaven
sit there
sounds as
and the only music I hear is some damn cherubim swinging around your head, talking some holy, holy, holy.
no, 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 no.
That's
In
boring as
Manid,
hell.
yeah, that sounds as bad as hell. I mean, honestly, but in Manadvipa, we gonna get all the good music as well. There's gonna be people, singing all kinds of stuff, even raunchy music. I mean, if Adi Shakti can have sex with her husbands, why we can get down up, in the throne too.
You must have saw my video I posted earlier today.
Oh, what was it
Oh,
specifically?
I said I'd rather go to hell than heaven
Uh-huh.
because in heaven, in hell, at least they got I can have a cigar and some whiskey.
Yeah, you gonna get your cigars
It,
in the
yeah,
highest heaven with the goddess. Yes, there's cigars there.
yeah.
You
In
know,
Jesus'
sometimes
heaven, there's no marriage, so if there's no marriage, there's no sex.
there's
So
marriage
hell,
too. You can be married. In fact,
hell is that.
in the high heavens, you can for Adi Shakti, you can be married to more than one person.
Yeah, sounds even better.
Yeah, she has multiple husbands, so why can't we?
I know. I need to take a 2 minute break.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said,
No, no, y'all fine. You can keep talking. Y'all can do whatever. I just need a 2 minute break because y'all know I drink a lot of water and I need a 2 minute break. Hold on.
I
I've been trying to
understand.
do it. But keep talking.
Okay.
Answer some questions people type.
Okay, let me see the questions real quick. I hope this ain't gonna. Okay. Sorry, I'm just looking at the questions. It's taking a while to load. Dang it, load questions. Sorry, I had to get back on the other tab to see, and it's taking a little while. Also, I have bad internet due to bad weather. Yes, Tim, you're right. Yes, even the worst people can be recycled. The thing about it is, with we all gonna get there to Brahman. We all gonna come back to her. Some people gonna take longer than others. Some people gonna take shorter than others. It depends on you. And um, I don't believe Adi Shakti no sense that, and like the Abrahamic sense, to the point where we don't have free will, if that makes sense. Oh, hey, Coach.
I feel better.
I was because I was responding to Tim Brown's comment where he said, "I think Maria is right. Even the worst people can be recycled."
The, the worst people can be
And
recycled.
yeah, he said that even the worst people can be recycled because ultimately we all gonna get to Brahman. Thing is, some people gonna take longer than others. Some people going to take shorter than others. And also, when it comes down to it, I don't believe that Adi Shakti is all knowing in the same way that uh, Yahweh is, to the point where you don't have free will, or allegedly, because he does express regret for actions he has done, like creating man in the Noah story, or making Saul king. But I do believe that but I basically believe she doesn't necessarily, she knows all the potential paths we can take, but she does not know which one we will take.
Mm-hmm.
But she knows the results of all possible paths we can take back to her. And some ways are longer than others, some ways are shorter than others. Some are more arduous, some are more, you know, laid back. And as for Texas Goddess, why do you believe in a God? All these religions and thoughts are created by man, but of course, do you? Again, I actually do believe that gods can speak to us. Even demons can speak to us if we let them in. But I embraced Hinduism because you know, I agreed with the religion, both in its theological views, but as well as its philosophical views, a lot of the philosophy, because Hinduism has a lot of a philosophy thing. It's not just believe or else. There's a lot of philosophical ideas that, have found their way into many other religions besides Hinduism,
I
but that
understand.
have their origin in Hinduism.
I understand what you're saying. But I think the because I do have the question as well. Um, we cannot prove that any of these guys exist nor don't exist. So why do you choose to believe? And because it is a choice.
Yes, it is a choice. And I would say I choose to believe because not only it makes sense to me, but also because of the fact that I have found a degree of peace and tranquility in the religion and a
Mm,
sense of spiritual fortification in the
right.
religion.
Okay. So, and I think that's what happens with most people. Like oftentimes I get the question from people like, if not Christianity, then what religion should I believe in? And some people, not all, but some people, religion is necessary because the structure is needed, and it's
Mm,
a structure that fits them, especially fits the life that they've experienced thus far, and
mhm,
that religion makes more sense to them because of the life that they have lived and the experience that they've had. But that type of structure is appealing to them. Um, and then there's the people like myself who don't need those structures or don't require or is not
mhm,
attracted to any of those structures. But even myself, I was attracted to the structure of Hermeticism. So, in a sense, I still
mhm.
chose some type of philosophy that fits my way of thinking, uh, and the life that I've led and experienced, and the one that I choose to lead. I just so I understand what you're saying, and many people need that type of structure in order to grow.
Mhm.
It's just that most people choose and are part of religions, and they have no freaking idea what they're doing. They're just following along the what they were taught, and never
Right.
contemplated their religion in itself.
And for
I,
me, I've always had, even when I was young with my book of Greek mythology, I've always had, was one of my biggest passions was studying world religions and beliefs. And believe it or not, it was studying all these other world religions. Oh, we got an ad.
what?
Sorry, let me skip it on mine.
I still
It
hear
was
you.
me studying all these other world religions and beliefs that was able to liberate myself from the slavery and the abuse that was Christianity.
True. Now I'm gonna ask. Can I ask you a personal question?
Hmm.
Was part of your rejection of the Christianity you was brought up in, was part of it because of your LGBT? I can never say that shit right. The
That was a
LGBT.
part.
Yeah.
That was a part of it, but believe it or not, that wasn't the clincher.
Okay.
That wasn't the clinch. That was a part of it. Obviously, I struggled with the idea that gays and trans people were going to burn in hell, and had a lot of self-hatred and fear of hell because of it. I had issues with other things, like everybody outside of the religion was going to burn in hell, and the way that this God is described in the Bible as essentially being a terrorist. And when I was my preacher even compared God to a mass shooter who's ready to shoot all the sinners,
Oh
which
damn.
that's a yeah, he's a terrorist. And he even stated that the past, that 9/11 happened because of like the gays and the people of other religions, which is exactly the same thing that the Muslims were saying that they did 9/11 for, because of the gays and the infidels. So if that's the case, wouldn't you say that Islam is more true? Because why is your God using Muslims to punish you?
Right. It didn't
Um,
make any sense.
no. But the clincher that really made it where I realized this is an evil religion, I need to get the hell up out of here, was when I was hearing all this stuff in the church that was misogynist, saying that women need to submit to men, they shouldn't teach or hold authority over men, and all this other nonsense. And I rejected that. And one of the reasons why I did was because even though I grew up in the very Southern Baptist, very Christian town that I was in, the media I consumed, showed a lot of strong, powerful women and promoted egalitarianism between the sexes. Even my mother, who is a Christian but doesn't believe in a lot of the awful teachings within it, taught me that men and women were equal, and that if a woman can do a job as well as a man can, or even better, she should be given it. There shouldn't be anything denied to somebody based on gender if they can do it. And that was actually why I left Christianity, which was due to the misogyny and the sex negativism and the slut shaming of women. That was the clincher that made me realize that I need to get the hell up out of here.
Yeah, I think a lot of Christians don't realize that it's hardly ever one thing.
No.
It's generally a multitude of things. I have always found it interesting and strange that people in the LGBTQ community stay with Christianity. The ones who try to make it fit, I've always found that strange.
I've called them people out.
And then to see and then as you start to see all the other, like everything else that you described, the misogynistic mentalities, that is not even from the people. That is just within the book.
Mm-hmm.
That in itself is enough. I don't even need the people to act out. The book itself demonstrates the acting out within itself. And then all the narcissism, then all the genocides and the killing of children and all these sorts of things. All those things just pile up. And then the contradictions just add to it. And then until you finally just say, you know what, enough is enough of this. I just can't do it. This is so far outside of what a loving God would ever be. And then the whole concept of hell is far outside the loving God. At least the Muslims say that if you go to their hell, you're only there temporarily until you serve your penance for not worshiping Allah, and then you get to go to heaven.
That's not true that's only true if you're a Muslim. If you're a Muslim,
by Muslim that everybody gets that situation.
No, in Islam, Muslims, if they sin, well, they will go to hell, do the time. But like if you reject Allah and like if you reject Islam after it has been revealed to you or shown to you, then you will go to hell forever.
Let me check. Not that I don't believe you, but let me check. If you reject Allah, do you go to hell for eternity? Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, yeah, you're right. From what I see on a quick little scan.
Mm-hmm. Also, I'm glad you liked my response, Texas Goddess.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. In the Quran 2:284.
Mm-hmm. And it says in the Quran that any religion other than Islam will not be accepted.
Well, that Muslim lied to me.
They did, or they were just ignorant.
Well, yeah, one of the two. I ain't gonna say they lied. They might just not have known, which is one of those problems I have with these religions, because the doctrines that people come out of it is always a doctrine based on their own personal narratives.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Brown, shut the hell up. I loved and hate him at the same time. I have no problems learning. That is my whole thing. I love to learn.
I've learned a lot of stuff from the coach. Coach has taught me. You've taught me a lot of things that I didn't know.
Don't say that. That just feeds into Tim's bullshit. Just give him more shit to say. But no, I didn't. The Muslims that I had talked to, they had told me something different. But of course, you just as you got 50-11 different sects of Christianity, you got 50-11 different sects of Islam and every damn thing else.
Mm-hmm.
So, all of it to me it comes with a grain of salt, because I can read the Quran and come out of it and create my own version of Islam, just like the Nation of Islam did. They read the damn thing and created their own version of Islam that is very different from when you go to Saudi Arabia, which is different than when you go to Dubai or United Arab Emirates, to put it all together. So it's
Not
all
even
good.
just the Sunni versus the Shia divide.
Yeah, so it's all a matter. That's the problem. That's one of the biggest problems with religion, is that you cannot really find a religion that is not tampered by man. That man, and part of it for me is that man created all of it, and based on evidence of history, man created all of it, and so man then determines what it is. And then when somebody has a difference of opinion, they determine another variation of what it is. Same damn book, same writings, but everybody comes up with their own stuff, you know. And so why should I trust some dude who wrote something, 2,000 years ago or 3,000 or 4,000 years ago? I know more than that motherfucker know now.
Yeah, and I will say this, in many pagan religions, there was accepting of differences of opinion. Like, again, like I said before, in Hindus, we don't all even agree on who the supreme being is in our religion, but we still live side by side in peace and respect other Hindus for their own religious beliefs, even though they might not be the same as ours. Meanwhile, and this is actually tying it back to another video you did talking about Nicaea, as soon as Christians were allowed to practice their religion, what did they do? They were kicking each other's asses over which version of their religion. It was like a constant world star hip hop Christian version.
Shit, they was doing that even before the Rome made it legal.
They were.
And then once
They
Rome made it
terrorists.
legal, and once they got the government behind them, they really started kicking. Like, I don't mean to make this political, but do people realize? Christians don't realize that the same damn thing that Trump just did with the this new little religious part of the government is the same thing that Constantine did when he authorized the Orthodox Christians to be the type of Christianity that he wanted all of Rome, all the people who were Christian in Rome to be. And that later on under Theodosius allowed for the Orthodox Christians to genocide the Gnostics, the Marcions, and every other version of Christianity. So the ones that this Paula White will now lead will take away the rights of the Protestants, take away the rights of the Episcopals and every other version, the Catholics and all their versions of Christianity. And they don't even realize that they are allowing themselves to be condemned by another Christian.
Which is funny because her own religion with her male God even says that, women ain't supposed to teach or have authority over men, yet here she is in essentially like Trump's Aunt Lydia's.
Oh, but Deborah was a judge. They'll throw that out there. Deborah was a
Well, all that means is that Yahweh just keeps changing his mind. Yahweh is very inconsistent.
He's as consistent as the people who are in charge of the religion, which is why it is even more man-made than it ever has been, because it just continues to just change culture by culture, politics by politics.
True enough.
And I can't deal with it. I wouldn't deal with it. And Christians need to be aware of it.
Right. Well, even back to the hatred of women in the religion, I remember I was watching this academic who studied a lot of the Bible and showed why a lot of it's not true. Her name is Dr. Francesca Stavrakopoulou. And I agree with a lot of the things that she said, but one thing I disagree with her about, she said that the Bible was written by men with daddy issues. I don't think that's the case. I think it was written by men with mommy issues, and that's why there's such a hatred of motherhood and the feminine principle.
Yeah. Well, I'm a King Solomon that and split the baby.
Okay, that works.
I think that it was written by men who have been dominated by other men who both cultures believed in women to be merely just property. And so they had no concern for women, even their mothers, because the culture that they were in, women were just property to be sold off based on their ability to produce babies. They were no more than cattle. And that was the norm of the culture. The culture thought that. You know, so the overwhelming majority of the culture thought that way. So when they wrote it in the way that the culture believes. Because even though they were under the Persian Empire, the Persian Empire was no better. The Zoroastrians, they were no better. And they thought the same way, that women were just property. So when they wrote about their God, that's how they wrote them. And women
I will push back a little bit on that with the Persians, because they did have a lot more equality in their society regarding women's rights than the Hebrews did. They even had women in government positions. They had women warriors. And do you know who Artemisia of Caria is?
Nope.
She was a famous Greek warrior queen, and she was a vassal to the Persian state. And she was even a kind of a heroine for them, and was even one of Xerxes's mistresses.
I'm with you. And the thing about it, you can find that in a bunch of cultures where there was this woman who was a queen or a woman who was a warrior. But they were kind of like how in America they had the house slave. We're going to put you at we're going to give you a little bit more credit. But as far as the rest of them that look like you, they ain't shit. So although this woman, because like even look at Cleopatra. Oh, she's the woman. She's over the Ptolemy's Egyptians, over Egypt with Ptolemy, because she's a Ptolemy. But even though she's in charge, the rest of the women in this society ain't shit and they cattle. But she's so when you bring out the woman who was respected, usually it's because of some bloodline or something like that allowed her to become powerful, or some incident that allowed her to become powerful. But the rest of the women in the society, the overwhelming majority, they out in the field.
Right.
So she's just a trophy. They still wrote, and even a lot of those women still accepted and continue to make laws and rules to make the rest of the women, eat shit and die. Nefertiti did.
Unfortunately, you're right about that.
Yeah. You didn't see Nefertiti making new laws in Egypt that women got all the same rights as men. She didn't do that. Joan of Arc didn't do it. Hell, old Elizabeth, who just passed away, she wasn't even doing it in modern day times.
One of the few women who I think actually did do something like that when she became the empress was Wu Zetian, who was China's only female emperor. She actually did do a lot of laws to make things more equal for women in her society.
She might be the only one.
You're right.
I can't think of none of them other ones that ever did anything like that. So
you might be right, honestly.
Yeah. But we are, it's over 2 hours. As a matter of fact, it's 2 hours and 23 minutes.
Okay.
I have my limitations.
I know. Well, thank you for having me on, Coach. It's been a pleasure talking to
you. Always, Maria. Always. You always bring about good conversations. So I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
You're so very welcome. And to the rest of you jokers over there in the comments, I appreciate y'all too. Of course, y'all can keep on cussing each other out even after this is live and over. But I want to thank everybody for being here and for supporting the channel. I forgot. All my members and subscription holders, I thank you. Everybody who donates to the channel, I thank you very much. And y'all have a great day. And tomorrow we will be doing What's Wrong with the Bible. We're still in Joshua. I believe it's 13 and 14 or something like that we're in. So I look forward to that tomorrow. And y'all have a great night. And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.
Bye.